But Phil Spencer also ended up talking about Xbox prices potentially increasing at some point in time. He didn't specifically say console or whatnot, but Xbox related prices may increase at some point. His quote specifically says, quote, we've held price on our console, we've held price on games and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things, but going into this holiday, we thought it was really important that we maintain the prices that we have. End quote. And honestly, I've no, this has been in my head an inevitability for various amounts of time. In terms of Game Pass subscription increasing, that's always been an inevitability. Like there was no way that they were going to be able to keep it in my
Yeah,
head at $15 and keep offering the quality that they have been like just forever. Like
never
there
gonna
was
happen,
no way,
folks.
especially with the acquisitions they made with Bethesda and soon to be potentially Activision Blizzard. No way it was going to stay at $15 forever. Um, in terms of games staying 60 and not hitting 70, it's good. It's eventually going to hit 70. Like I doubt that there will be a future where every single one of their games stays 60 in perpetuity. Like the industry is moving towards the future where some games are 70, some games are 60, and eventually I'm sure all will be 70 at some point in time. Like it's an inevitability. They're just trying to hold it off as long as they can. In terms of their console, that's been more of a thing where after Sony raised the price on theirs $50, I'm saying dollars just for simplicity's sake, worldwide, then it's like, okay, I can see Xbox going either way on it. Because I mean, Xbox is owned by Microsoft. Like Microsoft has Microsoft money. They could afford, I'm sure, to not raise prices in the face of inflation. But at the same time, I could see them saying, let's try and hold out the holiday season. Let's try and have this good PR right now and say, oh, we're not going to raise prices. We don't have plans to do it. And then 6 months later, and we're raising the prices because the holiday season is done now. Here you go. Big bam boom.
I this is so this is like this is my Joker moment. No, like you can't. It was never about don't give. To me, this was never about don't give Sony shit for raising prices. But this is why you don't pat companies on the back for doing the bare minimum when it comes to like, oh, we're not raising prices. That was nothing but good PR, man. If you didn't think this was
Exactly.
happening eventually, I'm sorry, you're stupid. Like that's it. This was going to happen, and you're falling for this oldest trick in the book. And I don't know. Is it materially good for us that Microsoft doesn't raise prices? Absolutely, but also like don't stop fooling yourself, man. These companies do not care about us. Like they are 100% going to raise prices when they can, and yeah. So this is like okay, company's gonna company in my mind. Like there's nothing shocking when you see this stuff. It's just annoying because the discourse is always like it's the discourse of Xbox good guy, and it's like these are companies. They're not good guys, man. Just like I love Sony. It's bullshit that they're raising the price of PS5s and I like Sony because I like the property, the nostalgia associated with it, X, Y, and Z. But man, I'll never let that lie to myself. The same way I can give Xbox has done objectively good things pro consumer, but it's all in the name of trying to create those established neural links I have with other people. They're just trying to get us all to like the Xbox brand.
Right. It's like it was so interesting when like the Sony stuff came out and like under like I even said it on the show with Kieran, where it's like we understand, inflation is a thing, things are more expensive. We understand all of that. It makes sense why you're doing it, but it's still not a good look to do that at all. It's like to raise the
Yeah,
price.
and
It's just
also the
not a good
tech's
look,
older,
period.
man. Inflation is
Right.
real, but your tech is older. It's not the same console it was 2 years ago.
Right. So it's like it's not we get the reasons, it's just not a good look in any way, shape, or form. At least and like I'm giving them a bone here. At least they didn't do the meta thing and raise the price by like a full $100, like the meta did with the Quest 2 for their different like
Yeah,
that was just like
that was a big one.
that was ridiculous. This it's only 50, which not too bad, but still not a good look in any way, shape, or form. The only one I actually believe would never isn't going to be raising the price is Nintendo because they intentionally price their things a specific way. I don't believe they would raise the price at all. But I mean, if it happens, whatever it happens. Xbox,
Also, people will riot if they raise the price on that old ass tech.
People would riot, but they would still buy it because Nintendo gets away with a lot of stuff. Like
They
let's be
do.
real.
Yeah.
Let's be
Objectively,
real.
they do because that same nostalgia connection some people have with certain brands, they've got it with everyone. So
Yeah. Question before we move on from this Xbox stuff here, and honestly, this might be kind of the end of the Xbox conversation. Like, there's two other points, but we're not really much to say about them.
we've talked ad nauseum about this. We've somehow gotten a lot of mileage out of this relatively light week.
I know it's fun. I like having these like in-depth
Yeah.
discussions like
And
this.
like I
It's
said, it gets off rails. That's what we expect.
I don't think I've ever asked you before on the show, but what do you think they would raise the price of Game Pass to? It's $15 right now. What do you think it would go to?
It's a tough question. I think 20 feels right. That's like in my bones. I feel like it'd be 20, but I also wouldn't be surprised. I think the more insidious bump would be like the $3 bump. The 18, it's not even five. When hey guys, just a little bit, It's that $2 to $3 shit that really is like the truly, because those will happen more often than the big price point jumps. Because I feel like on a long enough timeline, if you do $5, it's got to be a while before you jump again. But you go
Yeah.
18, now we're gonna hit 20. But then next thing you know, it's 22. And then the next thing you know, it's like you're at 22 before the 20 ever jumped to like 25. I wouldn't be surprised if their like goal internally was like, listen, if we're essentially putting out a brand new game every 2 months, or like maybe the goal is a game a month, but maybe it's every 2 months. We want essentially Game Pass to cover that cost in 2 months. So we want
Yeah.
it to be their internal goal is like, hey, we want it to be at $30 to $35. Like, if you think I'm crazy, I promise you there's
That's
some kind of internal
wild.
memo that says something like that. I
That is
promise you.
wild. 30 per month? I don't
Because you
know.
think about the logistics, they think of this in terms of how long does it take us to equal buying a game.
No
I
way.
promise you that's how they
Nah.
think of it.
I no,
Now,
I'm
I'm not
sure they
saying that'll be
do.
within a year. I'm saying like that's what the goal is to get to, probably before this generation is up. I think that the pushbacks in game, like when the games are coming out, has actually cost them not only money, but I think it's cost them some of those price jump updates. I don't think they've been able to do it, and they need the goodwill of staying at that price point. I think the goal was probably to already be at $20 an hour. Like that
That
would be gun to my head. They thought Halo and kind of like this rollout of Starfield and everything meant they could get there. Because they haven't been, I guarantee the CEOs are mad.
I don't believe that they would have wanted to be at $20 right now because they've still been in
Listen,
that
if you
growth.
think that, I've got a bridge to sell you.
They've been in that growth period for a while of like just trying to get as many subscribers as possible. And even with Halo, right? Even with Halo coming out when it did, and even say Starfield came out this year, even if those two things happened and went off without a hitch, I don't believe, and let's throw in Redfall as well, because Redfall I believe was supposed to come out this year too. Let's say those three things happen. Even then, I don't believe that they would have been like, and $20 in 2022 or 2023. I don't think they would have done that because they know that that $15 is the sweet spot. It's cheaper than the standard subscription for Netflix. It's cheaper. Wait, no, I think it's the same price. No. I think actually now that it's been
Netflix is
raised,
like $20, I think now.
well, that's for
I
the
think there's a
premium.
super cheap option, yeah, where you don't even get HD.
No, the premium Netflix with like 4K Ultra HD and everything, that's like $20. But the standard one, 1080, and like being able to watch on two screens at the same time, that one I believe got raised to like 16 something recently. Um, but I think it's about the same price or a bit more expensive than like Hulu without ads. Like the $15 is a sweet spot for what we're getting, especially in the games space and just in the entertainment space as a whole, because it's not just competing with games now, it's competing with all types of streaming services. I feel like their next goal is going to be like 17 or $18, like you're saying. And I do believe eventually they will hit 20. I don't believe that they will hit 20 for at least 5 years though, because they're going to want to try to stay at the
I'll
price
do
that they're at.
We
Well,
can
they're
do
going
a
to want
dumb
to try
bet
to
if you want. I guarantee you they'll be at $20 by the end of next year. I would bet my life.
$20 by the end of next year.
$20. I promise you what. So if they go 18 first, my bet would be that before the end of like that first quarter of 2023, they'll have initiated the second price hike. But in my gut, I think they go 5 at first. I think for the short term, because they've had losses, I think they want the more, even though it may mean they can't raise that second bump for a while, I think they're going to want the short term gains of the $5 bump instead of the minimal $3. So my bet would be, yeah, I'll go. I'll just, even though it's like the technicality of it is that I think that by like March of 2024 for sure. But I'll just say to make the bet even, like I would bet, I'll do a bet that yeah, it's at $20 by the end of 2023.
I don't believe it. I don't. I think we have a price. I think there is a price raise, and I can see a price raise by the end of 2023. I don't believe it's twenty
Five
dollars. I believe
five
it's
years?
17. No, I'm gonna dial back the 5 years thing. I'm gonna
I
say
bet my life that in 5 years it's at $30. And I don't think
nah,
that's close.
nah. I'm thinking 17 or
Hold
18 is
on.
the first
On that
one,
note,
and the reason is just Starfield will come out, Redfall will come out, maybe one other game will come out. The Activision Blizzard acquisition would have closed by then, ideally. So then they're gonna be like, all right, with all these new things coming, we have to raise the price a bit. Cool. People could accept like 17 or $18, but I highly doubt people would be like as accepting of $20, no matter how good Game Pass is, without seeing that quality of first party games coming to Game Pass. Like if we're paying $20, what am I paying $20 for if we're not getting first party games on a somewhat regular basis? And at that, they need to be good first party games. So Xbox knows that they're gonna need to show that before they could just do a giant $5 price increase. I'm so positive on that, which is why I don't think that'll be the first price hike. I think the $20 comes at least after we've gotten a fair chunk of these like big games that they've been talking about from these acquisitions. So like Fable, like Contraband, like Avowed, like whatever the heck is going to be coming for Halo in the next, however many years and so on and so forth. After Activision Blizzard gets announced, whatever they put in Game Pass from that too. I think $20 comes. It's about to be 2023, maybe 2024. That might be pushing it though. I think 2025 is when we see $20 at the earliest.
2025.
At the earliest. That's what I'm thinking.
You're it will be at $30 in 5 years. I'd bet my life on that. I'm telling you, that's how they want price increases.
You're saying
It's
30.
$2.
You're
It's
saying
$2.
30. Okay.
It's $2 to $3 every 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, and they can bill it if it works. If the vision works, my counter bet would be, do they have a new strategy in 5 years? Because I think that's also like I would put a little bit of money on the $30 in 5 years, but I'd also put some money on they've just abandoned the strategy or had to severely alter it. Because if the vision doesn't work, they can't keep upcharging without people getting mad, and then it's like this wait. But 5 years, man, no. Like I know that the price we pay for games has been such a slow drip because of everything. But especially, we assume there will be a new generation of consoles in 5 years. I think probably right. That's fair to say. That may be right around when we're having them. They will absolutely crank up the price of that thing. Like if you think they're letting us get into next gen for anything less than $25 an hour, I have a bridge to sell you.
No, once it comes to next gen, that's a different story. And I wasn't picturing next gen as being 5 years from now. I think this generation is going to be a long one. I think the next generation could be 2027 at the earliest. And if
I
it
think
is, then
that's the
I could
latest.
you think that's the latest for it?
I think the goal was for this generation to be a shorter generation because of the way technology updates, because of the iPhone model, et cetera, et cetera. I think the pandemic has pushed that back. So I think maybe we see those extra 2 years potentially roll into what I would assume would be an original plan for a 5 year gen. So maybe it's 7 years now, but I think we absolutely get consoles by 2027, which I'm not mad about. This
I
5 years from now. That's like a ton of time.
I
Um,
I can see it. I can see that happening. I don't think that'd be the latest. I think in my head, just for me, I think that'd be the earliest. But I do agree that when a next generation comes around, the price would increase again. I don't believe, depending on how Game Pass is going, depending on how Xbox is going, that price increase may happen at the start or it may happen like a year into the next generation. And whatever the price is before that increase, if it's $20 before that increase, I could see it going up to 25. I could see that happening. Like a new
So
generation, new costs, so on and so forth. Time to bump things up a bit more.
if the if we don't if you're saying that's the earliest, you are predicting, so this again just mathematically, you are predicting if it takes any longer than that we have the longest console generation cycle ever, the like between launch and release, and you're saying that at a time when technology advances quicker than ever.
I'm
That is
saying
bold, my friend.
what was, hold on,
I just
2012.
looked up all the release dates. That's what I'm saying. It was '06 to 2013 was, and then 2013 to 2020 were tied for the longest. It's 7 years in between PlayStations. I'm going off of
Right.
PlayStation cycles here. But I
Yeah.
think Xboxes are
Xbox
even
was
slightly
2000.
shorter.
Xbox was 2005 to 2013 for the 360 to Xbox One. So that was 8 years.
So they
Um,
have 8 years.
yeah. So
But
like,
actually, yeah, because they waited the extra year with one, which
yeah. So like that's why I can see, I think 2027 is very likely when it would happen, like new consoles. I think 2026 could, but I think that's a bit too. I don't want to say a bit too soon, but it just feels like that might be a bit early, like just like a couple months earlier or something like that. 2027, 2028 seems right, especially considering that we still don't have many new gen exclusives right now. You know what I mean? Like we're still in like these really cross gen days. It's going to be cross gen even next year for for some games that have been
God,
announced and all
it's
like
so
that.
annoying.
So
I'm
like
sorry. Like if there's,
that's also why I don't think like it's going to be
but
as imminent as we're
I think
thinking.
the pandemic changed a lot of that.
It did. It did.
And I don't think the original plan was to still be cross gen.
It wasn't. That's why I'm saying like plans change, and because of that, I think the next console generation would be 2027 at the earliest, but not definitely. If
I'm
things
saying
went
that's
according to if things went according to plan, I'd be more confident in 2027. But I'm not.
I'm
I'm not as 100% on it right now.
oh, I'm 100%. That's going to be the latest. It'll happen by 2027. Book it, and by 2027, Game Pass will. I'll say this: bare minimum $25. Wouldn't be shocked at 30.
You want to know what else
If
would
it's
be
still
happening?
kicking, if it's still kicking in its current iteration, I could see them being like, "Hey, we're bringing back $15," but then you look at the fine print and you're going, "Oh, so like it's not going to be every game." I could see some kind of like basically them pulling a PlayStation, being like, "Hey guys, we're going to give you some great value," but you're like, "This isn't the same thing. It's not every game day and day." I could see
Yeah.
that happening as kind of a like, "Hey, this isn't working in 3 years," and they're just like, "We've got to do something else." Phil's just like,
I'm retiring. Bye. See you later. Someone else's problem.